All right, so here's something that is really interesting. So, you guys know about the David Pakman, David Rubin interview. Basically, David Pakman had Dave Rubin on his show for a full hour long interview. They did an interview talking about a bunch of stuff. I thought that what David did was a pretty good idea for an interview in which basically he asked people for questions and then he asked Dave Rubin those questions. Now, it definitely seemed like David was not happy with that. So he didn't really seem very happy with that. But anyways, it was just completely, it was insane. I mean, the level of stupidity that was exhibited by Dave Rubin in that interview was insanely, it was through the roof. I mean, I think that the biggest example, well, actually, there are two really big examples of this, but the number one thing that I always think of is the part where essentially Dave Rubin asserts that he is anti-tax increase because he says that, I have huge capital costs for the show. And this was something that I can't believe Dave Rubin didn't know because he's a small business. He has a small business. The Rubin Report is a small business. They employ people. It's a small news show which has a huge outreach. So what David Pakman explains is well, wouldn't having higher taxation be incentive to further invest in your own business? Because what's tax, that when you have a small business, those capital costs are tax exempt. That's why Sargon, and when he did the video responding to me, he's like, what kind of mic is that? Mic is that he's using because, all my money goes to the tax man, and the reason why he was asking is because, this is tax exempt. So that is, and then Dave Rubin's essentially his response was, that was kind of his response. He didn't really know what was going on. He couldn't really understand it or comprehend what was going on just because he doesn't obtain enough brain cells to do so. But additionally, there were a lot of really low points of this. But I mean, I think the second biggest low point was, actually, now that I think of it, there's another third low point that I want to mention. But the second thing being, Dave Rubin parades around as being a single payer advocate while also being a classical liberal, which could not be more diametrically in opposition to each other, by the way. But he says that he's pro single payer healthcare, and then upon the line of questioning of Dave Rubin, he basically asks him, saying, how, what is your actual legitimate, what is the system that you like? And then what Dave Rubin describes isn't a single payer system. He actually describes Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. So it's like, this doofus doesn't even know what single payer healthcare is. Like, he's a complete imbecile. And then the third low point in that was that he actually, he was asked by David Pakman, probably the most prominent, most significant question in my opinion was, how can you claim to be pro single payer while simultaneously being claiming you're a classical liberal? Because classical liberalism, the core idea of classical liberalism is uber laissez-faire economics. That's what Herbert Spencer was for. That's what classical liberalism is. And so the fact that he's somehow both of them doesn't actually make any sense. But anyways, what we're going to be looking at here, after this debate had happened, we never saw them linked together again. That was sort of odd. Now, what we're going to be seeing is that it was a legitimate open question as to whether or not David Pakman and Dave Rubin were still friends after this.
Oh, when I'm going to be on his program?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, basically, last we talked about it, it's an open invite for whenever I'm next in Los Angeles. I think he wants to do it in studio and not via Skype. So I don't know. Right now, I might not get to Los Angeles until April of next year. So it might not be before that. If at that time he's still willing to have me, I don't know if the offer is good, if it has an expiration date on it,
Yeah, I was actually wondering if you guys had a falling out over your interview. That's why I was curious and why I brought up the question.
I'm sorry if I can barely hear this caller.
He's wondering if you've had a falling out with Dave Rubin since the interview.
Sorry
Oh,
about that. I was just
not
wondering
that
if
I'm
you guys
aware.
had
I
a
mean,
falling out.
sorry, what was that?
I was just wondering if you guys had had a falling out because of the interview you guys did.
Got it. I honestly don't know the answer to that. If I knew the answer for sure, I would tell you. I've not talked to Dave much since the interview, and I know that I pressed him on some issues, and there was reaction to that online. And he's not indicated to me that he's upset with me for the interview where I asked questions about health insurance and taxation and all sorts of other policy. I couldn't say one way or the other, honestly.
Yeah, so it's pretty clear for anybody who really understands this situation was basically they're not like Dave Rubin is essentially dodging David Pakman. He is not going to associate himself with David Pakman any longer because he don't want that smoke. I don't know how to put it. He don't want that smoke. He don't want them hands. He ain't trying to get clapped because he cannot hold up with David Pakman, and that was what was made clear in that interview that was done, and it is very obvious that he was trying to dodge. Now, additionally, he went to LA, I believe, for like a vacation or something like that, and he was trying to get on the Rubin report, and somehow, some way, Rubin couldn't have him on. Now that's also going to be an important, interesting point as well here. But anyway, so they I'm not going to say Pakman got into it with Rubin, but Rubin definitely was pissed off at Pakman and sort of called him out after this. But here's what happened. So Dave Rubin sent out a tweet saying, got at Tucker Carlson in the studio today. I'm going to put CNN on in the green room and see if we can get that face. So I guess he did an interview with Tucker Carlson. Then David Pakman quote tweets that today, and he said, "Hey, at Rubin Report, I thought you were going to be in Europe with Jordan Peterson today and thus couldn't have me on yesterday/today/tomorrow. Disappointing." So from that tweet, originally thinking, I mean, what you're essentially putting in your head is, Pakman's calling him out because you lied. But on second look, I don't even know, he used the term disappointing. That was interesting. But anyway, so Rubin responds to this saying, "I'm leaving for Europe tomorrow and have had Tucker booked for months. Couldn't double up due to crazy schedule before I leave. Enjoy your solo drama." So, what does that mean? What that means is that Dave Rubin was pissed off about what David Pakman said because he was essentially trying to say that, he was giving his explanation and simultaneously he says, "Enjoy your solo drama." What does that mean? That's it. It's a wrap. That's done. It's over. David Pakman, Dave Rubin, done. But it doesn't end there. It does not. It does not end there. That's the actual funniest part about this. So, David Pakman responds to that saying, "No drama, just disappointing. We've been trying to set up this sit down for so long." So he's trying to say that basically which is true, he's been trying to have a sit down with him for a long time now. As I explained earlier, last year when he did the interview with him, he was trying to get in studio with him, but for some reason he was unable to actually come on. He was actually unable to come on. Now, it seemed to be the case that Dave Rubin really was not a fan of this, and I'll explain why. Because Dave Rubin then responds to his own tweet in sort of like a thread-like thing. He says, he literally posts the email. I don't know. That's low-key messed up. I think that there are reasonable times to put out private correspondence concerning the specific, the specific conditions at hand. I'm going to say the specific circumstances. I guess if the circumstances are severe enough, I guess it can be understood. Maybe you're being smeared. That's probably the main one. But he actually posts out the email. He says, "Here's your email as a reminder. I'm gone for all those days except today. Also, a decent person would send a text instead of going after me on Twitter. Enjoy your quest for clicks." And then Rubin responds to that saying, Pakman responds saying, "Haha, come on, man. I'm a decent person. You know that." So, he released the email from David Pakman. The email from David Pakman reads like this. It says, "Hey, I'm going to be in LA for Politicon October 19th through 22nd, 20th through 23rd, something like that. Would love to do something in the studio with you." So, And as he says there, he says, enjoy your quest for clicks. It's over. It's a wrap. The Dave Rubin, David Pakman friendship is done. That, I mean, it was already done. If you weren't already able to tell, it was already done. But it is like 100% finished at this point. It's totally 100% done. It's over. It's a wrap. That's it. Dave Rubin, obviously not a fan, saying enjoy your quest for clicks as well as your solo drama. I think that Rubin is definitely overreacting, and I think that Rubin should have offered those details upon that day. Like, I don't know, like, why didn't you give him those details in the first place? I don't know. Honestly, I'm not really sure where to come with this. It seems shady, and I'll explain what. It's because, I mean, that's a pretty heavy range of dates, and it's like, I just feel like Dave Rubin just doesn't want to sit down Pakman for an interview, and I think it's because he knows, like I said earlier, like, I don't think he wants that smoke. Like, I don't think he wants to get clapped. You know what I mean? So I get the feeling that basically he did that because he's trying to save face, and that essentially he's worried. He's pretty much worried about having him on, and I think that he's scared. And I guess you can just add this to another person that, I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, let me know what you guys think about this. I'm a little torn on this. It just seems kind of weird. But I don't think that David Pakman actually has bad intentions. And I think that he just wanted to come on. I don't know. But it's definitely done. They're not friends anymore. I remember Dave Rubin having David Pakman on when David Pakman was... he said that, David Pakman's not a regressive, he's a progressive. So, I don't know. It's something that's sort of weird. I don't really know how to look at this other than it's over. But, I guess the question here is was David Pakman trying to dodge? That's the question. I think so. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section.